All right, football fans, welcome into another week of the Daily Reflector's Fearless Football Forecast. Tony, it is the midway point of the forecast, the midway point of the season. We're already halfway through.
Every year it seems like it starts sooner, but it also seems like it goes faster.
Yeah, exactly.
Every year.
Exactly.
So I guess that's just the way things work. But yeah, light slate this week.
I know, man. Yeah, it's going by so fast that I skipped the introductions. I didn't even
Well, you said Tony. I think people know me on a
exactly.
first name basis at this point.
I'm Jordan Anders. He's Tony Castleberry. If you watch, you know who we are pretty much already.
If you read the Daily Reflector, I hope you know.
That's also true.
Yeah.
That's also true. So we're here, like I said, midway point of the season. A light slate of games this week, only two, but we do have one all-county matchup, Tony. We'll jump to those in a moment. I guess the one thing I did want to ask you is, I guess we've done this now, except for last week you weren't here. Welcome back.
I had a surgical procedure that kept me out of things, but I'm almost 100%. Thanks for all the well wishes from the fans out there.
Yeah. I
know I was missed. I know Ronnie's no substitute, but he did his best.
Back playing hurt.
Yes.
On the forecast.
Yes.
But, all the games that we've seen so far this season, I guess, is there anything that stood out to you so far?
Yeah, a few things. I won't go on and on about it, but I'm really intrigued by this J.H. Rose team that we're going to talk about, because you just don't know what you're going to get.
Yep.
They could go out and score 14 points in a loss and then score almost 80 in a victory. That kind of unpredictable nature of that program is kind of intriguing to me. I like that, and I also... The second thing that really pops into mind right away, and I'm going to keep it with the teams that we're talking about this week, I really kind of felt like North Pitt would have its first win by now.
Agreed.
I'm sure that Coach Wooten would say that he would hope they would have one by now
Absolutely.
too. The 0-5 kind of stands out, and you kind of feel for that group, because there were some higher expectations for them leading into the season. And here they are sitting at 0-5 after being in games, and then after halftime, a lot of penalties and turnovers and things of that nature are still kind of plaguing that team. And I know that's got to be frustrating for Coach Wooten and his team and all the folks at North Pitt. But I would tell them just, chin up. And it's a long season. There's still a lot of games left. And I think that first win is maybe right around the corner for them. What about you? What stands out?
I think, you mentioned keeping it with the teams that are playing this week. Farmville Central is off, but, I did not think we'd be sitting here at the midway point with Farmville Central having the best record in the county.
Right,
At 4-2. The only team with a winning record in the county. We've got three teams at 500 at 3-3, but I think the Farmville Central is a surprise, but one of the teams we'll talk about today, one of those teams at 500 is South Central, which has I think definitely been the most surprising and kind of the most pleasant surprise to see those the Falcons kind of get it rolling there and get some wins.
I would agree with that, and that's a credit to Coach too and Coach Gardner and what they're doing there, and the kids buying in to what they're preaching. And those 500 records, I think. That 500 record for South Central, I think, would be good. Farmville Central, Coach Gardner would probably say that with all the injuries they've had, they're excited about being where they are.
Yeah, going into a bye week. Farmville Central, Aiden Grifton, D.H. Conley on bye weeks this week. Got two games. We'll jump into the first one, which is that winless North Pitt team you mentioned, Tony. At Northside, a game that North Pitt won last year, but this is a Northside team that is a little bit improved. They're 4-1. North Pitt, as we mentioned, has had the struggles. They're coming in off a loss in the Wooten Bowl to Green Central,
the inaugural Wooten Bowl,
exactly. Which Ronnie and I kind of talked about last week. Kind of played out about the way that most of North Pitt's losses have played out this year. They led early. They were in the game at halftime, only down 10, and then it kind of spread out and got away from them in the second half, but. It feels like we're beating a dead horse to sit here and say that they've played well enough to keep themselves in games if they could now just get cleaned up and start making the plays to have a chance to win these games. But
absolutely.
I don't like I said, this is on the road against a Northside team that's coming off its first loss of the year, but again that 4-1 record, they're averaging 230 yards on the ground, and North Pitt has not been particularly good at stopping the run this year. So I think this could be another very similar situation where North Pitt, this is a kind of a close game, but I think Northside eventually pulls away and keeps the Panthers winless.
I think I agree with you. I know I do. I do agree, and I think if what North Pitt needs to focus on at this point, and I think Coach Wooten and his staff would agree, is eliminating the self-inflicted mistakes. that is the thing that is plaguing that team more than what the opponent probably is even doing.
No doubt.
Now, granted, their schedule has been pretty difficult. That's a good Green Central team. This is a good Northside team. North Pitt lost at South Central, the game that I saw. South Central's proving itself to be a pretty good team. It's not like it's not like they're losing to teams that they should be beating.
Right.
They're probably not favored in any of these games.
Right.
That's why they're sitting here at 0-5. But it's those self-inflicted mistakes, I'm sure, that are driving Coach Wooten nuts. If they can eliminate those things and clean up some of those penalties and turnovers, they're going to maybe be in these games beyond halftime, as opposed to just saying, well, they kept it close for a half and then they lost. But this week, I think that they're going to fall to 0-6. Northside is a team, you know what you're getting. They're going to run it a lot. They're not going to stop running it.
Right.
And North Pitt, if they can shore up the defensive line and maybe push them back and put a little doubt in Northside's mind, maybe they'll pull out an upset, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think Northside wins.
Agreed. And then we jump to the second game, which is an all-county matchup. J.H. Rose for the second week in a row, facing a Pitt County team that is in its own conference. And maybe this one, and I say this selfishly because I will be at this game.
Okay.
Maybe this one will not be quite the fireworks that Rose and D.H. Collins was.
For deadline's sake, I hope not.
That is 100% true. 77-67.
Unbelievable.
Set the state record for the most combined points in a single game, and it was every bit as just outrageous and ridiculous to see as it sounds in writing and
following
and
it on Twitter too. It was nutty, even just that.
It was the number of so many 11 touchdowns, but between the two teams, 11 touchdowns of at least 30 yards. Rose had 5 of at least 60 yards. There was just
350 rushing yards for E.J. Harris. What is going on?
Holt Naylor's threw for 500 yards. I mean,
responsible for 9 touchdowns or something like that.
Which was unreal. But Rose, as crazy and as fun as that game was, at the end of the day, Rose finally got a win, which it needed after having dropped a couple in a row. And now this is a South Central team that we mentioned. This is a game that Rose has won pretty much every year they played.
Yeah.
They won last year, but again, this is a South Central team that's a little bit better than last year.
Yeah.
And has played well. They're coming off a close loss at Eastern Wayne where they were in the game and had a chance to win late, went for a 2-point conversion and didn't get it.
Yeah.
So. I think there's a South Central, despite coming in off of a loss, they're going to be, they're 0-1 in conference, but I think they're still going to have a lot of confidence, and I think they'll be able to go toe-to-toe with the Rampants there to start, but I think eventually J.H. Rose just has too many offensive weapons.
Too much firepower.
They're hoping to get one back this week in Madrion Vines, who's been out the last 3 weeks with a bum knee, so if he's back, that's just another offensive explosive weapon that South Central has to contend with, and I think that's just too much for the Falcons, and the Rampants get a win.
Yeah, that makes sense. South Central is going to be fired up for this game.
And they have been for a couple weeks
Like
now,
you said, this is one that they have circled on the calendar, obviously. And South Central's defense, I would venture to say, is, I don't know if it's a whole lot better than Conley's, but I would say at this point it's probably a little bit better than Conley's defense. I say that to say this, that I don't think that South Central's given up 77 points this week. Now, Rose could go out there and prove me wrong, but as I mentioned at the opening, Rose could also go out there and score 14 points and lose. We don't know what we're going to get, but with Rose at full speed, the way that it seems like they're going to be, I feel like that's going to be a little bit too much too. But man, I kind of want to pick South Central just to have a different pick.
Right.
But my head is telling me that E.J. Harris is going to be too much for them. South Central's probably going to keep this one really tight. In fact, I could see this going down to another, like Eastern Wayne's game that South Central lost last week. I could see it going down to a final possession and having another exciting game that's going to make you push deadline again, the way that you had to last week through no fault of your own.
Hopefully not.
But yeah, I think that Rose is going to get a close win here, and South Central is probably going to rue a couple of missed chances maybe here and there, and just the fact that they can't cover all those weapons that Rose has. That's probably going to be the difference in the game.
Right. That's a very, very likely possibility. The fact that South Central, that if Rose rather, if Rose wins, they got past Conley. They're 1-0 now in the league. facing a slate of conference teams this year that they didn't lose to last year.
Exactly.
So this could be, they are in prime position to maybe run the table if they can get everything in a row. And
Yep.
I think that continues this week.
Yep.
You can check out the pages of the Reflector and Reflector.com for the results from those two games. It's a light week for us, Tony. But
Yeah. We still managed to talk like for 10 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. But we'll be back next week. We'll have the other two, the Eastern Plains 2A and the Eastern Carolina 2A. They'll start conference play, so all the teams who are on byes this week will be back. We'll have coverage of all of that. You can follow us on Twitter at Reflector Jordan, at TCastberryGDR,
Yes, sir.
and a partridge in a pear tree. So that's it for this week, and thank you guys for tuning in.